Happy Saturday, happy St. Patrick's Day. It is March 17, 2018. Welcome to your weekly mixtape and your week in review. It was a historic week. Yes, historic week as in the first ever 16 seed beat a number 1 seed last night in March Madness. Yes, that's the most important thing that happened this week is March Madness. UMBC, the team you've never heard of, University of Maryland, Baltimore County beat the number 1 seed, University of Virginia. And not just any number 1 seed, but the number 1 seed overall in the tournament. Smashed them. Wasn't even close. Kind of disappointed. Local kid, Kyle Guy, is actually on Virginia, very good player. Actually went to my high school, don't know him, I'm a lot older. Like to watch Virginia play, disappointed to see them lose, but nonetheless, it was an exciting game, an exciting night, historic. So important that we're talking about it first on our weekend review. Between Virginia losing, a couple other upsets, March Madness is underway, and I couldn't be happier. Looking forward to the rest of the games this weekend and into next week, but the opening weekend is the best. So that is number 1. Number 2, U.S. confidence hits an all-time, or not an all-time high, but a 14-year high. So consumer confidence, the way we feel about the economy, is at a 14-year high, which is a positive. Interesting fact, take it for what you will. The top third of income earners saw their consumer confidence go up the least, and the bottom third of income earners saw their confidence go up more. So I don't know what that really means. I wonder if it's that those higher earners don't see as much excitement for their financial situation in the future, and those at the bottom end see more opportunity. But nonetheless, it's at a higher level, which that's a good thing. The markets were fairly quiet this week, down slightly overall, so not a lot to talk about there. Coming up, there is going to be some exciting IPOs. Spotify, Dropbox are both going to be having their initial public offering, which means now as investors we could invest in them if we want to. Be careful with IPOs. Ask a Snapchat IPO investor how they feel about investing in an IPO. They're usually a little bit more risky early on. A lot of excitement, everyone wants to be in, but remember there's people who have been holding on paper gains that now can sell their shares and make some money, so you want to be careful about going into this. Not a recommendation, but it will be a little bit exciting to see some of these bigger names that we know come to the market and be able to trade and see what happens with that. Washington, as the world turns, no shortage of news coming out of Washington this past week. We had Gary Cohen out as economic advisor, Larry Kudlow, and if you watch CNBC, you'll know Larry Kudlow very well, but Larry Kudlow is now in. From all I know of Larry, I like him. He's a pro-markets, pro-America person. If it were me, I don't think it'd be worth going in to deal with everything that's in there, but that's not me. So it'll be interesting to see if he can actually work alongside President Trump. He was very vocal against the tariffs, and we've seen that the president does not like necessarily having people against him or what he wants to do, so we'll see how that plays out. So found out for sure Kudlow was going to be in. President Trump blocked Broadcom's attempt to purchase Qualcomm, so don't really need to worry too much about the companies. They're chip makers and computers and different things, but the reason he blocked it was for national security was the reasoning behind it. But it was the president putting his foot down as far as business and saying this purchase will not go through, even if the two sides decided on it. So that was kind of some interesting news that came out this week. Continued concerns over trade wars because of tariffs. That hasn't gone away. And then some dirty business went on last night. At least I think it's dirty. The former deputy FBI director Andrew McCabe was 2 days away from retiring. Has been very vocal against the administration and the investigations into Russia and everything else going on. Well, he was fired last night, 2 days before he was going to retire and collect his pension. I'm sure he'll do fine. But just the way it kind of went down seems a little shady, if you ask me. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. I'm sure there'll be books and interviews. We'll learn a lot, but just more drama coming out of D.C. and the markets kind of just shrug it all off because it's gotten used to it and it's focusing on the economics of things. Moving on, Wells Fargo just can't stay out of the news. They're being investigated now on the wealth management side into their sales practices and overcharging customers. So they've had the false accounts and everything else that comes out of it, and now they're back in the news again for an investigation on their wealth management side of the business. I feel bad for advisors there. They're doing the right thing and just getting caught up in the politics and the bad culture of the company. It's because not every advisor, probably most advisors, in fact, at Wells Fargo are not doing bad things, but they're just getting roped into that all, which ties into the area I wanted to spend the most time on. Is the fiduciary ruling that was passed by the Department of Labor back in 2016 was vacated. The fifth, let me double check it, let me make sure I get the right one. The Fifth Circuit of Appeals Court vacated this ruling, which basically the fiduciary ruling required advisors and investment managers helping clients with retirement accounts to act as a fiduciary, which a fiduciary, I've talked about this before, written about it before, there's plenty of articles about it, but basically a fiduciary is required to put you, the client's interests, before their own as an advisor. Meaning I can't put you in a product that pays me more but is inferior to another product that would be lower cost and better for you as an investor. Prior to a fiduciary ruling or being held to a fiduciary standard, there's a suitability standard, which just means the advisor is protected by, well, this product wasn't bad for the client, it fit their personal situation. Yeah, I made more and this product is a little bit lower cost, which would be better. This product I gave you was not bad, so I'm protected under the suitability standard. So the whole point of the fiduciary standard was just to make sure that advisors are doing what is in their client's best interest, and it blows my mind that we need a governmental rule. We need government to step in to make sure that advisors are doing this. Now, before I go further, I am not saying that every advisor operating under the commission and the suitability standard is a criminal and is screwing their customers, because that's not the case. I once lived in that world. That's where I came from. I feel that I did a good job for my clients. I always put their interests first, maybe within the constraints that the company I worked for had, but I was still doing what was best for my clients with what I could offer. So not every commission advisor is a bad person. Not every broker is a bad person. There are a lot of brokers and salespeople doing good work for their clients. Other side, not every fee-based advisor or fee-only advisor is a saint. There are fee advisors screwing their customers out there just like there are salespeople screwing their customers. So it's not a perfect world, but the fiduciary standard requiring advisors to do what's best for their clients, disclose any conflicts of interest, I just see as something that is best for investors, best for the public. And obviously there's a lot of pushback from the companies and the individuals who would be harmed by that the most if that model transitioned over. So nonetheless, the ruling has been vacated. I'm sure it will be appealed again, and this ruling will live on in the courts and probably not be implemented for a while. The disappointment to that is the message is we're going to let lobbying and money dictate the policy that might be there to protect investors and clients and those who may not even know they're being taken advantage of. But the good thing is, as an advisor in this industry, the public is woke. People know about fiduciary advisors. They know the term. You'd be amazed at how many of my newer clients over the last couple of years have actually mentioned the term fiduciary. I'm talking millennials, young clients that probably have never heard of it until all this came out. So while we may not have a ruling to help facilitate this transition from the sales world to the advisory world of my business, I do think that markets will take over. Free markets will take over. The public is demanding that their interests be placed first. They're asking questions about the way advisors are being compensated, and they're trying to find advisors that are aligning themselves with their own best interest. So while a ruling would help speed this up, I think markets will take over. Demand will determine the way that advisors will be working forward, and I think it will be more along the fee-based. It will be the fiduciary standard, and we'll get there without any help from the government. But it is kind of frustrating to see that investors' best interests were put aside this week. We'll see if it comes back, but that was the big thing. So that's me on my soapbox. Been trying to get these videos shorter and shorter, and here I am rambling, but this is something that I'm very passionate about. That's one of the reasons I have my own firm, is to be able to work with people under different business models, being a fiduciary, giving them advice, giving them investment management in an affordable way, because the big argument against the fiduciary standard was the unintended consequences were clients that don't have a lot of money are going to be skipped over because they can't be sold products for advisors to be compensated. They don't have enough assets to charge a fee on, which is completely not true. There are advisors like myself, the XY Planning Network, advisors all over that are changing their business model to better serve clients and help those that are supposedly going to be overlooked. So I will leave that. There's articles below about the fiduciary standard and the ruling, so you can read more about that. But it was vacated, but it's not going away. The public is demanding this type of treatment from their advisors, which is good. So all hope is not lost. I'm very optimistic about the direction of where the industry is going. It might just take a little bit longer. And that's it. That's our week in review. Tried to be quick so I can spend more time on the fiduciary standard because I think it's very important. It is impacting your planning. It's impacting your financial future. It's impacting your relationship with financial advisors. So definitely be sure to read some of those fiduciary standard articles below. Once you work through the articles for this week in review, make sure you hit the post for the weekly mixtape. Some good ones out there as always. I know you see a lot of the same names, but they do such a damn good job. You're probably always going to see Morgan Housel. You're always going to see Dollars and Data. You're going to see the same people. I try to plug in some extras as well to introduce you to some new writers. But as long as they're putting out good work, I can't not put them on my mixtape. It'd be like not having a mixtape. It'd be like having a mixtape without some Tupac or Biggie on it. Just can't happen no matter when or what the cause for the mixtape is. So with that, enjoy your weekend. Have a good St. Patrick's Day. Enjoy the games. Be sure to subscribe to the blog. Subscribe to the podcast. Have some great interviews coming up. I know it's been a little while since the podcast. I'm getting better at scheduling out, but have some great interviews coming up that you'll want to check out. With that, I'll let you go. Have a great weekend. Need anything with me at contact at allaboutyourbenjamins.com or Justin Castelli on Twitter, JUS10CASTELLI. And with that, I'll see you in the next episode.